Well, I'm Peter Rosenblatt, and I am currently the Executive Director of The Link in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I have a hard time remembering the years that I was president. I know I immediately followed Mark and was before David, so I'm hoping that you're making a timeline, and that would be my where I fit into it. I think when I was president of ACYCP, I brought something new to the table in that the previous presidents were all part of the founding group that founded NACWA. They had all known each other very, very well, kind of grew up professionally together, and I was sort of the first, if you will, outsider into that group. And so that really laid the foundation very nicely for what I wanted to do as president, which was really focus on the infrastructure of NACWA and ACYCP. We had bylaws before, we had policy and procedure manuals, but most things were kind of done on handshakes and folks running into each other at various conferences saying, remember you said you were going to do this and I was going to do that. So the time was right because certification was around the corner, not quite there yet, but around the corner. The time was right to do some internal focusing. And so we looked at our bylaws, we looked at our committee structure, we looked at membership. At that time we were primarily a state association, if you will, organization. We want to expand that to include online child and youth care workers as well. So we really spent around 3 years looking at that internal work of really what does make a strong membership organization. Move it away from, if you will, the people and put it much more into institutionalizing or codifying these roles. I think the greatest lesson or lessons that I learned were as much as we did try and succeeded in formalizing ACYCP, it maintains then and it maintains now to be a very individual, to be based on individuals. And so when I come to the meeting, I even question today, am I representing myself or am I representing my organization? And in years past, I've asked that same question. And I think we're much better at representing ourselves than necessarily speaking for the field at large. As I look at the future, I'm thrilled that certification is here. On some hand, we've had these conversations I've been involved with ACYCP for over 20 years, and things that were just ideas down the road. But we now have a code of ethics. We now have the core competencies that have been codified. We have a certification process. And it was nice to be a part of that process to get us here today. And I hope that ACYCP, as they look into the future, will focus on how to sustain that and keep it going. We talked a little bit about the 5 pillars of what makes a profession, and this is what ACYCP and NACWA used. And there's that one of a professional affiliation. And I think that's going to be the hardest one to set up. We've tried. Some states have done it better than others. Some smaller regions have done it better. But with very few exceptions, most of those have a tendency to sort of peter out and sort of lose their steam. So how do we take advantage of Facebook, of the internet, of social media, and of other forms of networking to get that professional affiliation that other professions seem to have? And I think certification can play a lead role in that. So I look forward to hearing not only more about ACYCP down the road, but hearing more about certification down the road. I do remember a talk, I'm pretty sure it was in this building many years ago, with a lot of the same group of people asking but when certification happens, and we knew that there would be its own board and its own entity, would ACYCP still be needed? And we didn't know the answer to that yet, but it was a question that we put out on the table. And who knows, there may still be some new ideas or things that we need to bring to fruition, or this could be the time to allow our certification brother and sisters to carry this flag forward.